Okay, hello everyone. First a brief introduction. I'm David, studying here at the Technical University in Munich, my master in environmental planning and ecological engineering. And today my topic is Polychaete worms, which are also called bristle worms. So the first thing that came to my mind when I researched about this species is that I got the exact opposite of a flagship species. So it's not cute or as appealing as, for example, this panda bear, but in the next 5 minutes, I want to show you why they're actually pretty fascinating when you engage more with them. But first, let's see where we are in the animal kingdom. We are in the phylum of Annelida, which are the ringed worms, and Polychaete is actually a class. And till now, we have 24 orders, more than 80 families, and 16,000 described species in this class. The main characteristic of these worms are that every body segment has two fleshy protrusions, which are called parapodia. And each of these parapodia has some bristles, which are called chaetae. And yeah, that's how you know why they're called bristle worms. A few more facts, they can get up to 3 meters, although the vast majority is smaller than 10 centimeters. Some species can live up to 250 years, and they are more than 500 million years old, which means they survived already all the 5 mass extinction events. So, looking at the habitats, it's predominantly marine species, and there you can find them literally everywhere, in the pelagic, on the shorelines, in the ground, and even in the hydrothermal vents, and in the deepest point of the ocean, the Challenger Deep, also a species has already been found. I brought you here some examples of species. The Pompeii worm, for example, that's the candidate who is living in the hydrothermal vents at 80 degrees. The ice worm is the exact opposite. He's living on the ocean floor in methane ice, and the planktonic bristle worm is able to generate bioluminescence. And as various as the habitats are, as various is also the diet. So we have almost all categories of food types here: herbivores, carnivores, deposit feeders, which feed on mud, and also filter feeders, which feed on suspensions. Here is a video of the Sandstriker, also called bobbit worm, and yeah, after watching it, you will see why he's called like that. So basically, he's hiding in the sand and waiting for prey. And yeah, when the time comes, his snake catches the prey and drags it down to the ocean floor, pretty much like in a horror movie. But well, now you will say, oh, that's all nice. So we know now that there are a lot of species. They occupy a lot of habitats and can do some also pretty special stuff. But why do they matter? And why do they matter in our context? For that, we have to see the trophic system, and we see that they are acting as decomposers, which means they feed on the dead organic material of all the consumers and producers in the system. And furthermore, they are a part of nutrient recycling, so they return the nutrients back into the soil and thus back into the system. One of the most impressive candidates is the zombie worm from the genus Osedax, which is living on the bones of dead marine animals and basically feeding on it. A very impressive way of diet. And if we look again at the trophic relations, we see that they are not just decomposers, but they themselves are the prey of various animals like birds or fishes or crustaceans. And also they eat some of them. So we can also put them in the consumers. Another service of them is the bioturbation. They rework the soil particles by digging their burrows, and also they ventilate their burrows by flushing them, for example, with the upper laying water, which is also called bioirrigation. So now the question is, what is the relation to our internship here and to the mangroves? Of course, all these relations in the trophic system are true also for the polychaetes in mangroves. But I found a few studies which were really interesting. First of all, the benthic macrofauna in mangroves is often dominated by these worms, that is in terms of the species, the number of species and the number of individuals. And for example, a study found up to 68 species in mangroves in India in a very, very small sample area with 0.1 square meters. This is a study from Japan, which investigated the diet of migratory birds in an estuary in Japan. And they found out that these worms are the major diet of all these 5 migratory birds, which highlights their importance in the food chain again. And last but not least, they can also be used as environmental indicators. For example, when you assess the whole benthic community and you compare the worms with the other benthic species, then you can have some results about the quality of the marine environment. And yeah, last but not least, if you are now fascinated about these worms, I recommend you July the 1st, which is International Polychaete Day. And there you can celebrate the highlights, the polychaete highlights of the year. For example, ducks fighting about these worms, or just amuse yourself with the beauty of the pickbud worm. So that was already the end. Thank you for your attention. I leave you here with the Christmas tree worms. It's no joke, they are really called like that, and they are also species of polychaetes. So if any questions are there, I'm happy to answer them.